My name is James Farrar. I'm the Director of Worker Info Exchange based in London. Well, I think technology companies have deliberately tried to silo aspects of technology development to deliberately keep these stakeholders away from one another. So we see, for example, a lot of data labeling associated with autonomous vehicle development is done almost in secret in Central Africa countries like Kenya. It's really important, I think, for workers who are going to be affected by that technology in urban centres in Europe and Asia to be able to connect with the workers in that AI supply chain so they understand what's happening. But there is a very clear strategy to keep those workers apart. I think trade unions can do a great deal of work in terms of organising those workers in those silos, but it's really important for the trade union movement to connect them across the value chain as well. Well, I think the first thing is not to fall into this almost lazy way of thinking that there's a certain inevitability, there's a certain determinism about technology. So sometimes regulators don't want to enforce transparency in algorithmic pay, for example. But meanwhile, for decades, we've had clear rules around transparency and how people are paid, and people should get a pay statement. But all of a sudden, when algorithmic pay emerges as a technology, regulators are almost playing learned helplessness. It's really important that regulators don't slide back on what have been well-established standards in the face of new technology. And if technology can't deliver to those standards, then I think that's the point where we have to question whether or not that technology should be introduced at all, if it cannot meet existing standards that we've had for a long time. And those standards are often based in fundamental universal human rights. So it's really important that we don't backslide off those and that we allow technology to create that deterministic situation. Well, one of the things that we're particularly passionate about is for workers to organise themselves, for workers to take control of their own data so that they can have a more meaningful conversation with the regulator about what must be done. Because often we're all shooting in the dark. Now, if workers can work together to either access their data through existing data rights or create their own data at work, then I think in collectivizing that data, workers are in a position to leverage the regulator into action that should be taken. Well, one area that we're particularly worried about is the concept of dynamic pay and dynamic pay systems. What that promises to do is to personalize pay and personalize the work allocation. And that can lead to clear algorithmic discrimination amongst workers. And that can be on grounds of, directly or indirectly, on grounds of discrimination across protected characteristics. But, what is that going to produce for us? It's going to produce for us a race for the bottom for workers, where workers are going to feel that they need to accept the lowest rated pay. Then they become profiled as workers who will accept the lowest rated pay. And then we end up with a situation where workers are effectively black and brown listed or black and grey listed. So workers who will not accept pay at an acceptably low rate for the platform won't get offered work at all. Or they may get a limited amount of work, which I would call grey listing. But those types of conditions are unacceptable in a normal employment context, and we should not accept it in being induced by AI as well. But that's one area where discrimination is clearly creeping in that needs to be challenged. Well, what we have started to do is for workers to collect their data, collectivise it with us. We conducted a study with the University of Oxford based on 250 workers, and we could clearly see discrimination. We could clearly see the effect of dynamic pay was having on workers collectively. Very hard to see this on an individual basis, but when you collectivise the data, you can see clearly what the results are. So I think that type of study, that type of engagement is really important for workers.